give up. On a mission so strong that obstacles like failure and loss only act as motivation. I mean, like, no one has the power to shatter your dreams unless you put something telling me to stop. I never do that in the name of love until I'm giving it my all and it just ain't enough. See, even if it's getting realer than they say it was, straighten up. Who's afraid of what? Play and get involved. Nah, you work hard till you're better off. 24/7, 365, never off. Look at me, I'm nocturnal, I don't sleep. My eyes heavy bags and crow's feet, but I won't be stopped. I go from tragedy to majesty. The victory has been woven into my tapestry. My adversaries not cut from the same flag as me. That's why the champion's gonna be who has to be.
Welcome back to another episode of the Mounties Corner. I'm your host, Ed the Mountie, and I have a very special guest indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another podcast. I am unsure of the name of this podcast just yet, especially with my guest, because we have a history. We have about, I don't know, I'd say about good solid 2 years of podcasting. It's called Pile Drive Cast, and I am here with the one and the only Nate Dawg. Nate Dawg, how you doing today, my man?
What's up, Mountie? Pleasure to be here. Always good times, always great chats about wrestling whenever we get together. The best part is we're close together, and pretty soon I'm going to be in the Mountie studios.
You're damn right, kid. You're damn right. We're going to be doing some crazy stuff down the road for sure, and we just had to get that first one kind of rolling just to understand. Hang on, sorry about that, guys. So I'm still new to this, although we've had experience doing some podcasts before. As I mentioned before, we actually did one, right, called Pile Drive Cast. A lot of fun for two rookie guys kind of kicking it off and just sitting there for about an hour and a bit, just shooting the shit on wrestling and just enjoying it for what it was. Week in, week out, talking about Raw, we're talking about predictions, we're talking about the pay-per-views and angles and storylines and things we wanted to see, things we didn't want to see, things that were actually happening, and so on. So, we've actually had these episodes uploaded on iTunes. You can find us on iTunes, right, Nate?
Yep, just type in Pile Drive Cast. You'll be able to find the picture with me and Ed in there. It's a little bit outdated. It's stuff from 2014, but you know what? It was good times. I remember the first time I approached you about it, you were just like, what is this thing? And you were down since day one-ish.
Ish. In the penitentiary, baby.
ISH.
That's right. So yeah, man, it's honestly it's an honor to have you back on here. In a way, I mean, we've been discussing it for a little bit, and finally here we are, right? So we can get together and do these kind of things a little bit more often. We got to come up with a name for it. We still don't have one as of yet, but that's okay. We'll definitely try to find one and kind of go from there. So we're here for a couple of reasons. We're here for Clash of Champions predictions, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But, I got to tell you, Nate, maybe some of the audience doesn't know who you are just yet. So do us all a favor, just give a little bit of a background of how you got into wrestling, how we met, and how we got everything started, etc. And I'm understanding that you have your own YouTube channel as well, right? Go for it.
Yeah, well, I've been a wrestling fan for many years, as you know. Like, we've had many discussions about it, and I recently started like a 5-minute promo channel on YouTube. That was me just trying to do like the lowdowns, like highs and lows of wrestling for the week, and I tried to do it in 5 minutes or less. Unfortunately, those videos end up being 6-7 minutes, 5-minute promos. You'll see the picture with me. Not hard to find, I don't know if that project will continue going forward. I've been brainstorming ideas over the last couple of months. If you notice, all the footage on there is a little bit old. I'm trying to structure it in a way that, where people have like, the 10 minutes or whatever the case may be, that they're willing to sacrifice that 10 minutes. Like, hey, what's Nate Dawg saying? Is he getting to the points? Do I agree or disagree with him? But even more than that, and since we're here and we're doing this one-on-one, one thing that you and I have in common is we loved the feedback. The thing about
Oh,
like
yes.
putting out our content. We like everything about, you know, the negatives, the positives, whatever. We're I'm not going to say professional because we don't necessarily get paid for this. So sponsorships would be great from anyone. The thing is that we always love to bounce ideas off people. You know what? If we're doing something wrong or if you don't like something that we see, we take everything into consideration and we bounce off that. For us, we use this as a social media circle. We weren't blessed with this kind of technology 10 years ago, where we're allowed to express our opinions, thoughts, and directions on where we want professional wrestling to be. It's a better time now than ever for the wrestling community as a whole to share their thoughts and opinions and realize that, you know what, a lot of people think a lot like me and a lot of people don't think a lot like me. And I just think like technology is actually starting to catch up to the creative prowess of wrestling fans.
Well, I love the way you said that because we were just talking about that before we went on the air. And it's like, you know, we have this Google Hangouts now. And before we used to just like, you know, sit in a room. We had the headphones, we had the good, you know, the good equipment and everything else. And, you know, we were able to edit it afterwards. But man, how much easier would it have been had we have just had this, right? And we could have been in different rooms. As right now, I'm interviewing via satellite. You know, just like the WWE does sometimes when, you know, superstars aren't there live. Oh, Brock Lesnar. But hey, you know, that's the cool thing is how everything's evolving, coming full circle and actually helping guys like you and me just, hey, you know what? If we can't get together for this specific time, no problem. Let's just hop on the mic later on. And you know as well as I did that every time that we got together and did a podcast, there was editing involved. Absolutely. From, you know, the intro to the outro, let's be honest, you took care of that. But I mean, did you really have to do that many takes and cuts?
No, we were pretty good on the fly. And I think the number one attribute as to why we were so good, a lot of people would say that we got good chemistry together. But in fact, and I'm sure you will agree with me on this, the one thing that was the X factor that made us amazing is that we always had an ample supply of beer.
Yes, Carling, if I remember right. So it is. It's really great to kind of get this going again, and I know hopefully some of the audience is actually pumped for this, and if they're not for this particular episode, they will be going forward because it's going to be nothing shy of awesomeness. So, oh man, did I just like rip off Edge and Christian? Not really. I didn't use the exact phrase, so I think we're okay. But anyhow, so you started watching wrestling. You have the channel. You know what? I think you should continue the 5-minute promo. And that's one of the things that I liked about your channel. I thought it was innovative and creative. I love the fact that you kind of had a timetable on it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to always abide by that timetable. But as far as like getting like a review or some sort of reaction behind something, I love the fact that like 5 minutes is nothing. I mean, anybody has 5 minutes to kind of tune in, especially if it's good quality and things like that. So I really think, and I highly motivate you and invite you to sort of keep that going. And I know some of my subscribers can hopefully hop on it and maybe kind of, you know, give you a little bit of ammunition to kind of, you know, continue that because it was really well done. That's just my opinion. Not biased at all. Yeah. So
I like the fact that you took a professional approach and response to it. I'm actually flattered that you thought it was a good product or a great creative idea. Thing was it is that time got caught up and stuff like that. And I think the whole idea of 5-minute promo working long term would have to be being immersed more into the product. Like it's one of those things where, you know what, if I'm gonna watch Monday Night Raw, I got to do 5-minute promo for Raw. If I'm going to watch SmackDown, I got to do the 5-minute promo for SmackDown. And if I do NXT, I got to do the 5-minute promo for NXT or Ring of Honor or such and such. The problem is that I was trying to bottle it all in one, but WWE and the Indies and Ring of Honor and such and forth, they give us so much content that what is supposed to be a 5-minute promo of me giving my thoughts and opinions on professional wrestling could easily be 13 minutes. Excuse me, because I am a motor mouth and basically, yeah, I'm like the modern day Bobby Heenan. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But ultimately, I know what you mean, and I kind of have the same tendencies. It's very hard to sort of wrap in and give informative information on some sort of view or opinion or anything in 5 minutes. It must be tough and challenging at times for sure. But the idea behind it is, at least if you can kind of keep the staple behind that for one reason or another, maybe even like do your predictions on it or something like that. I think it would be really a cool little thing to kind of, have on the side, at least while you build the rest of your channel. So, we wish you the best of luck in that manner for sure. So that's excellent. I mean, thanks for sharing for sure. So here we are. We got Clash of Champions happening. Pretty much the last pit stop, if you will, right before the road to WrestleMania begins, right? I'm pretty amped up for this. I hope that you are too.
I look forward to what's taking place on the card in terms of the build up towards this card on Sunday. I'm really not enthusiastic. Like, the go home SmackDown really didn't send. There's one thing about the episode of SmackDown this week that really was the only factor that made it like a go home show, and it was the fact that they added Daniel Bryan as the second referee at the last minute.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, usually they like to stick with their card, like, 1 week, 2 weeks out, and this is the card, we're going to force it down your throat, blah, blah, blah. If anything was like, it's WWE Network pretty much has your $10, $12, whether you're in the States or Canada and stuff like that.
Right.
So trying, it's just, back in the day when we were watching it as kids, we knew that when WWF In Your House was taking place, there was a go-home show, and the Monday night or the Tuesday night or the Wrestle Challenge that was on Saturday or whatever the case may be, there was always Sunday Night Heat was great, by the way.
I liked it too.
Yeah, but it was like a go-home, you know what I mean? Like, as soon as you finish watching Sunday Night Heat on Sunday, the day of the pay-per-view, the Sunday Night Heats were 10 times better what the pre-shows are for WWE today.
That's a fact. I agree with you. It's the thing is with Sunday Night Heat is you knew what you were getting into, and you knew that it was going to be still quality entertainment, and like you said, it was a different sort of direction as far as a go home show is concerned, right? But the thing is now with the pre-show, it changes everything, and it has such a sour taste for everybody, probably including obviously the talent in the back, right? Like, they're probably like, oh man, like, I had this like 20-minute match last pay-per-view, and now I'm on the pre-show or whatever, or you never want to go to WrestleMania and be on the pre-show, right? You can ask like Austin Aries that one, right? I mean, it's just one of those things.
But it's one of those things, it's a matter of perspective, right? Like, now they call it the pre-show because it is part of the pre-show. But as for Sunday Night Heat, it was like, a shot in the arm to the talent, because it wasn't you were the match of the pre-show. You were setting up the stage, but you were the main event of Sunday Night Heat.
Excellent. Yeah. And, since we're talking about the pre-show, let's get right into the first match. Wow, what a transition. We haven't lost a goddamn thing. Zack Ryder versus Mojo Rawley. What do you think, and who do you got?
I really enjoyed the heel turn of Mojo Rawley. I'm having trouble as to why like this sort of made like the pre-show like so fast. It just seems like they're gonna draw out this rivalry until they can figure out what they're gonna do with Mojo next. Stuff that's going back and forth between the two is nothing but a social media war. So if you don't follow them on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, you are completely clueless as to between these two gentlemen ever since he got clubbed in the back of the head on SmackDown out of frustration. So the way that I see it is, unfortunately, Zack Ryder is an amazing talent. He's great at doing what he does in the ring. He's a seasoned veteran. And you can see that this is clearly the stage for them to start setting up Mojo Rawley to be that number 3, number 4 heel. But I don't see him being on the same level as like the Baron Corbin or the Jinder Mahal. He's going to be sort of like that 3rd, 4th tier heel. And I think this is the setup.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not sure how this is going to go going forward for Mojo. And don't get me wrong, I don't have any beef with the guy. I think he works extremely hard. I think he's come a long way. Sadly, no matter how this kind of plays out, and this is what I was talking about with Jaden Steele, but I'll get to that in a minute. But no matter how this plays out, he's just gonna, and this is not a shot at Aiden English, but it's gonna be one of those Aiden English heel characters where it's just he's just kind of laying there in the weeds. Yeah, he might get rolled over a few times, you know. And Aiden English is actually starting to get more exposure now. But you know what I'm saying? Like Mojo, it's going to take time for him to get to even that point, I think. That's why when I was talking to Jaden Steele about this, right, I was under the impression, and I thought it would have been a good move for Zack Ryder to come back and turn heel on Mojo. That was just my thought. Not a lot of people agreed with me on that, but I thought it would have been an excellent move just because, let's face it, Mojo is still pretty over with the fans. I know Zach is too, but Zach can afford to be a heel and bounce back from that. I don't know if Mojo can afford to be a heel and try to bounce back from it. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're trying to say. I mean, it just seems like one of those things where it's good. On either side, it would have been like a slow build, but it would have progressed a lot faster had it been Zack Ryder. I think like they're setting up Mojo Rawley for like house show heat kind of thing. Like I don't see him getting a lot of TV time, but he's the guy that you're gonna like boo in your like 4,000 seat attendance, you know, in the small towns and stuff like that, just because, you know, Ryder was so over as a face. But I do see your perspective in terms of maybe they should have went in the direction of Zack Ryder going heel, because let's face it, some of this heel work back when he was part of like the Edgeheads and stuff like that, that was great stuff. And you know what? I don't think like, you know, that even tapped into the gas tank of what Zack Ryder has to offer as a bad guy.
I agree. And, you know, the fact that he had the injury and everything else, like he could have came back and he could have struck right then and there. Like I was even expecting that. And I thought that would have been an excellent, like point, boom, right away. No explanation except for the fact of, hey, I got injured because you didn't have my back and all. Like he could have spun it that way. And then Mojo, because he was still pretty over and he won the Andre the Giant, you know, Battle Royal. Like he could have built off that momentum. At least, you know, that win could have meant something for him to go now and to be a heel against Zack Ryder and use that. Like you're going back to it now, but it's like, okay, but what's the point of context? Okay, what? Like, so the guy comes back from injury and you guys aren't winning and that's it? Like, but there has to be more than just that. And that's what I think, at least, you know? And I like the fact that you touched on the social media aspect, because although that did work for Baron Corbin and The Miz, those guys are two very, very established right now, especially The Miz. Maybe not Baron Corbin just yet, but if anything, that elevated his game, and he's been a lot more interesting ever since that happened, right? So if you don't follow those two, which, you know, Mojo has a decent following, it's getting there. But like I've been a follower of Mojo since, like, you know, he had like 1,000 people or whatever on Instagram, you know, and he's just doing random party stuff and all this other crap, and it's fun and entertaining. I just really thought that they could have got a little bit more out of his face run. And then, you know what, if it's too over the top down the road where people are booing him, sort of like the Jason Jordan or old school Rocky Maivia, then you can turn him, you know? Like I feel like you could have got a little bit more out of him. And then, you know, Zack Ryder could have easily carried this feud as a heel, because it even seemed like the tension after the matches, is it just me? But it just really felt like Zack Ryder was the one that seemed more pissed off than Mojo. And then all of a sudden one week, Mojo does it. And I was like, okay, that just seemed a little bit unbalanced, you know? So I'm going to go with Mojo Rawley to win this particular match. Ultimately, I do believe that he even has to win the feud in order for us to take him serious as a heel. It's crazy, right? When you think about it.
But how do you build the feud between the two of them and not give them any mic time or TV time? I mean, it's great for you and I to follow it on social media, and at the social media and what's being put out there, it's almost like Zack Ryder's coming across as like the sarcastic heel. Because he's the one going out there saying, you know what, a year ago today, I recovered from this knee surgery, and no, it wasn't from carrying Mojo Rawley for a year.
Nice. That's true.
That's pretty clever. Like, that's pretty clever. And it's like, you look at that and you go, wow, one of those two is ready for this, and the other one is sort of like needs to catch up, and his learning curve needs to come quick, or he's going to be buried worse than buried alive.
Yeah. Nice one. But it's true. It's true. So, hey, we'll see. You know, I'm hoping that both of these guys kind of, you know, bring it to the table, so to speak, and you know, just get out there and do their thing and make me care about it, because I do care about it, but I want to continue to care about it. So that one is awesome. Second match that I would like to talk to you about, which is rather interesting. And a little bit of a surprise in a way that it's not on the pre-show, because let's face it, it's just one of those sort of matches that has pre-show written all over it. Not that I, you know, believe that, but it's just, you know, that's just the way they've been handling Breezango and the Bludgeon Brothers. So first of all, before I get your take on this, I don't understand this particular feud. And I really fucking hope that they're not going to feed Breezango to the Bludgeon Brothers, because that's just a big mistake at this point. You?
Well, my opinion on it is Breezango should have had the tag straps months back.
Oh, yeah.
And throwing them into this, it's looking like WWE has pushed all their chips in on the Bludgeon Brothers. For me, I would have done sort of like they've done with the New Day, where, you know, you can pull them back a little bit. They don't have to be on TV every week. You don't have to run the vignettes every time you go to a commercial break. It's almost like they're trying to shove these two down our throats. And it's like, look, I've had enough of these two when they were part of the Wyatt family to shove them in my face or down my throat as much as you do. And maybe I'll get to like them more, because for the early stuff of the Bludgeon Brothers that I've seen, the vignettes, the squash matches and stuff like that, there's nothing enthusiastic that really impresses me about this. I'm not looking at them like, oh my God, this is the next like tag team of 1 and 2 of Braun Strowman. You know what I mean? Like, really standing out. It's like, okay, we get it. You repackage these guys because you have nothing for them. But that doesn't mean you have to throw them out there on TV every week and make them like, this is the team that everyone fears.
Mm-hmm.
Good tag team division on SmackDown. You could have integrated them slowly.
Yeah.
And if you were going to feed somebody to them, ever since the Ascension has been called up, they've been sort of treated like a joke, or like house show, like laugh at me kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know what to describe it, but I would like to see that rivalry, you know, give them 2-3 minutes on TV where they run in against each other and stuff like that, where the Bludgeon Brothers are just like, hey, you guys play yourselves off to be like this big evil tag team. Well, we're the new team on the scene.
Yes. Yes.
Integrate the Bludgeon Brothers slowly so that we can start to embrace and understand these new characters.
I love it.
Right now, I'm looking at them, and all I'm seeing is Harper and Rowan, and I'm feeling Wyatt family. And you know what? I don't know whether I'm watching Raw. I don't know whether I'm watching the Riot family. I don't know whether I'm watching SmackDown. And to take this feud out of nowhere and feed them Breezango, because unfortunately with this, you can see that they're shoving it down our throats to win this match. So why are you just automatically killing the momentum of Breezango? The shirts are selling. Their segments are fire.
Yeah.
The fans are backing it like 110% for the work that these two gentlemen, for which you had no creative for, put in. Give them their due.
Yes.
Like, push these guys. Because shoving Eric Rowan and Luke Harper down my throat, to me, is the same thing as shoving New Day down my throat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. These guys are established. But they don't need tag straps, and they don't need to walk over the entire division to prove their dominance. I know they're veterans. I know they're good. Somebody else have the spotlight for a little bit. There's money to go around for everyone. Unfortunately, they see the money in the Bludgeon Brothers. I can't wait to see the first shirt. I guarantee you I'm not buying it.
But this is the thing, right? It's like you said, it just seems like something that we've seen a little bit too much, right? And let's be honest, Luke Harper was doing just fine on his singles run. Were they utilizing him properly? Not quite. They almost had it at the point where he was about to win that SmackDown Battle Royal and, you know, maybe go on to face Randy Orton, if I remember correctly. Like that was the striking of when iron was hot for him. He had people like having a Luke chant. They're like, Luke, Luke, Luke. Like that was the moment when he kicked him out of the Wyatt family and he became a face. That was your time to sort of run with the guy, at least to see what he was made of. And we all know that he's made of a lot of great things. You know, he had that awesome IC title run and stuff like that. So it almost seemed like this was some sort of idea. I could be wrong. This is just, you know, a guess. It's like maybe Eric Rowan was the one that's a little bit lost. Like they should have just repackaged him completely. I don't know exactly how. That's a really tough one, and I'm sure creative would think the same as a singles wrestler I'm talking about. But it just seemed like this is Wyatt family version 2, and it's just very, very similar. But I love the way you said to use the Ascension because, you know, of just their history and everything else, and you could have even given them a win over them if possible at some point, just to sort of make them seem like they're not a complete doormat. I do enjoy the fact that WWE brought the jobbers in, you know, Colin Delaney and whoever that other guy, the guy that screamed. First of all, that was amazing. The guy that screamed when he took the double power bomb was fucking fantastic. And like,
I think he took James Ellsworth's check. That's for
100%. That was the first thing that I thought of too. That's hilarious. And that's it. So I just. Yeah, I just don't understand the concept in having this particular feud right off the bat. Like you said, they could have did it a little bit differently. Like you said, introduce him slowly, or even, you know, they didn't even have to be in a match. If you ask me, like they could have made a statement after the big tag team match and like attacked somebody. They could have, you know, something.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. I just didn't want to bring it up before, but you got this big 3-way tag match coming up, and you got the Bludgeon Brothers running through everyone. To shove them down our throats in a match that is probably going to be a squash match, it's going to hurt business for Breezango. It's going to hurt their momentum. It's going to not propel their momentum. And instead of the Bludgeon Brothers like making a statement to whomever wins the 3-way match, we're coming up the ranks and we're going to whoop your ass kind of thing. I think it sent the wrong message on the card, but you know what? Fortunately, WWE has a different perspective on it.
The way I see this one going is perhaps Breezango doesn't take a clean pin, but maybe some sort of disqualification where they just get completely destroyed. Where at least I don't even know if that's even better than taking a clean pin. Like which one is worse, right? But I love the way you said that, you know, give them the ball, pay them their dues, because Lord knows they've made chicken salad out of a chicken shit sort of like, you know, random 2 guys tag team. We've seen that happen a lot. It doesn't work sometimes, or a lot of the time really. And these 2 guys have been money. So I love the fact that we're still even talking about them, which gives me the point that it's not too late, but they need to start now at some point and kind of utilize them a little bit more and give them that opportunity, give them that push, because it's going to be a successful push. You know, they just have to be a little bit more, less of a joke in the ring in a way sometimes, you know, because right now it's like, even when they had their title shot, you know, when they were rolling over. And, you know, it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but you know, these are 2 very good athletes in there. They can wrestle. You've seen Tyler Breeze in NXT fucking do the triple threat matches for the title, and you weren't sure. You thought maybe he was actually going to win it. And then you have Breezango, right? Fandango, who had an awesome start to his career. I was really getting behind him and everything else, right? And he had a big victory over Y2J, if I remember right. And it's just like, let's go back to that a little bit. Let's keep the jokes. Let's keep that stuff for the backstage. Don't get me wrong. But when they're in the ring, let's be serious. Maybe a couple of jokes here and there. I understand that. You know, all teams do it. New Day, you know, Usos used to do it. Like the little characteristics. I understand the importance of that. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that you can get a little bit more out of them if you really just completely utilize them properly. And I just don't think by putting them in a match against the Bludgeon Brothers to lose is a very good step in that direction. So hopefully they change it quick. We'll see.
I just don't know how it helps all the parties involved.
It only really helps, well, barely. It helps the Bludgeon Brothers a little bit, but again, it just seems too quick. You don't have to be that quick. Maybe with Authors of Pain, you can maybe be that quick because they're established NXT talent. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that one kind of rides out and stuff. But, you know, speaking of the tag teams, we got a pretty good triple threat match. Fatal four-way, like four corners tag match, however you want to call it. It's fatal four-way tag team match. WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship is on the line. Makes me a little bit nervous for the Usos. So we got the Usos, we got the New Day. You know, we have Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, and we also have Rusev and Aiden English. So very interesting mix of tag teams. It's not crazy to think that the title will change hands this Sunday, in my opinion. I want to know what you think.
We have an interesting mix of talent here. And going back to our previous match, I almost feel like Rusev and English came in through the back door and took Breezango's spot in this match. Now that I'm looking at the card over here, I'm looking at like Gable and Benjamin didn't really have not really established themselves. Like, yeah, they got like a few big wins like here and there and stuff like that. But it's not like they're stealing the spotlight like with their 5-6 minutes of fame that they get every week on SmackDown. I could see like where they fit in the mix in this fatal four-way. Better off wanting to see, now that I look at the match, I would have rather seen New Day on the pre-show against the Bludgeon Brothers, to be perfectly honest, and throw Breezango in this four-way match.
Yeah. That could have actually really worked when you really think about it. It's one of those things where, call me crazy, I don't know why, but I kind of have this idea and feeling that the reason why they kind of threw in English and Rusev is to maybe take that pin. And I'm not saying to take the pin against the Usos, and I'm not saying to take the pin against the New Day. I'm really leading towards Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable winning the tag straps, man, this Sunday. Call me crazy.
I look at this fatal four-way, and with all the chaos and all the talent in there, I still see the Usos coming out with the tag titles. 2017 has been the year of the Usos in WWE.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. You are absolutely right.
Only way I see these straps coming off the Usos this weekend, which, by the way, my pick is the Usos, the only way I would see them losing the titles is if Vince really likes what he's seen from them in 2017 and wants to reward them with a WrestleMania win. It makes sense to me if they do this.
Well, I just feel like the Usos have, like you said, it's been their year. They've been solid all the way in. I'm loving everything about them. And maybe, just maybe, could it be possible that WWE just feels like, you know what, these guys are really that good right now? Maybe they don't even need the title. Maybe they need to bring up another tag team to be a quote-unquote threat to them. I don't want my least favorite pick in this is the New Day. It absolutely cannot. It's a waste to everything else if it goes to the New Day. Usos retaining, I'm 100% on board. We all know that. I love these guys, especially since they turned heel. I mean, you and me were talking about that, 3 years ago when we were doing the podcast? Like, they should turn these guys heel and really kind of, have it like, these are the Usos, but with the volume turned up a little bit and show their little bit, their twin personalities and just give them a little bit of freedom on the mic and just be a little bit more ruthless. Because you see them, I watch Total Divas. I don't care. That's a pretty good show sometimes. I can't believe I just lost like 100 subscribers. And it's okay. But you know what? I watch it for the guys too, right? Rusev's on it. The Usos are on it. I mean, it's cool to see them in their natural habitat. And the Usos are a very good and very entertaining bunch, man, off the screen. And it's kind of fun to see that side of them in a way, but more in a badass way, right? So I'm okay with them, obviously, successfully retaining the titles I'm totally fine with that. But my sleeper pick in this is got to be Benjamin and Gable because they're running out of time. Like they put these two together for a reason, and I've yet to see what the hell that reason is. They brought back Benjamin. Like I want to see where they're going with this. I really want to see it. So I just don't know if it really hurts the Usos to actually lose the titles because, you know, you can always give it back to them at some point because they're still going to be red hot. I mean, what do you think?
Well, this Sunday we're going to find out if they're ready, willing, and able to win the tag team titles.
I was hoping you would use some sort of pun or some slogan or catchphrase, and you passed the test. So you've gained yourself an extra 10 minutes. Congratulations.
Actually, what I wanted to do is say that I'm actually disappointed in this fatal four-way that there's no special referee and whom other to referee this match than Man Mountain Rock. You'd love to see a guitar solo after.
You have that written in your notes, didn't you, for Man Mountain Rock reference? I bet you did. That's why you have the pen in your hand. I bet you just jotted it down like 4 minutes ago.
I picked earlier in the day. Like I just got the pen because I think I'm good old JR.
Well, have me some barbecue sauce while you're at it, will you? So we'll see what happens with that one. And, you know, going into some different avenues, let's head into the United States Championship match. Now, this is a huge one, right? I mean, the way I look at it is you got Baron Corbin, who's the champion, who's doing a decent job so far, if you ask me. You got Bobby Roode in there. Great pick for this match. He's definitely going to help the caliber of this match. If it was Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler, I wouldn't be as entertained. And I'm a huge Ziggler fan. I always have been. But his time is really running out. And it's really, really, really tough to kind of stay invested in him. And it hurts me to say that. It's just not working. So you have Ziggler, Roode, and Corbin. 2 out of 3 picks that obviously could win this match. Dolph Ziggler ain't winning. I think we can agree on that.
I think Dolph Ziggler is taking a hiatus when his contract is up.
Yes.
I think he wants to take time to himself, pursue the whole like comedy thing, you know, just have a lot of open time on his itinerary. He is by far like one of the top 10 talents in all of both rosters. But it just seems like WWE is setting him up to be like the Jake the Snake of this generation. He's there to propel all the guys that they want up in the title ranks. And they want them working with a good guy. Yeah. I honestly feel that Dolph Ziggler is the modern day Jake the Snake.
The only difference, obviously, is the championship.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. And it was sort of like, thanks for doing us the favor, Dolph, kind of thing. And as soon as like he's been penalized in the past for running his mouth while he's been the champion, and he's sort of got heat for it backstage, and they've taken the title away from him and given it back. And like he's a 2-time world champion, but the fact that he hasn't had a significant run with the world title tells me that they're not fully invested in him anymore. And it's like they sort of want him to stay, but they want him to stay on their terms. And he's too far into his career now to be doing everything on everyone else's terms. I think if he decides in the end when his contract's up that, hey, I'm going to step back, take 6 months to a year off, pretty much do like a Jericho thing, I'd be okay with that. You know what? Because he's way too talented to be used the way that he does. Serious. Then, you know what? Maybe some time away, they'll appreciate him more. But in this one, I'm picking Baron Corbin to retain. I'm not foreseeing a lot of title changes, mixing it up right before the Rumble. I just don't see it happening. And I think Baron Corbin has been at his best since he, like we said previously before, Miz. I just think he's established himself a hell of a lot better. And I think that strap is right where it needs to be.
And that's why I said it was important for Baron Corbin to go over in that match and win the title, not win the title, but to win on their respective brands. I really felt like that was a really big turning point for him. And Miz can easily bounce back from that, like, because of just his, you know, his star power right now. He's he's pushing main event material, and it's only a matter of time. And the smart wrestling fans understand that, and they're just waiting for it, and they're going to erupt. And they can even go either way with the Miz on that one. You could even put him as a face at this point, and he'd still get over. It's not like back in the day with the hoorah shit. He's on a different level now, right?
Hoorah was money. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, whatever.
I was on that Miz train way before everyone else, so
I was not.
I knew what the potential was there. So
I wasn't at all. At first, I couldn't stand the guy. The only time that I started to enjoy him was when he was paired up with Johnny Nitro or Morrison at the time, or whatever he was. I enjoyed that tag team.
Johnny Impact. Johnny, he's got way too many aliases. Really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And even he said it on the podcast with Jericho that he has too many and that it's actually hurt his money. Actually, no, he said that on a podcast with JR.
Yeah.
That it's way too many aliases and it hurts his brand.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't disagree with that.
Whose fault is that? And going back to the match, Bobby Roode has tons of time to carry gold in WWE. I'm not worried about him winning the U.S. title anytime soon. Anything, you know what? There's a lot up in the air leading into the Rumble. Like, I don't have one particular guy, like, coming out. The only guy that stands out that I could see that is going to shine in the Rumble and actually fucking come out the winner is Roman Reigns, unfortunately.
Well, Roman
title shot coming any other way going into WrestleMania.
Roman Reigns or John Cena are your two best, not best. How do I say it? Your two most likely to happen for sure. And we can get into that after for sure, because that is a whole other like barrel of fish, because that's going to be there's a lot of different ways they can do this, right? But as far as Baron Corbin's concerned, I do think that obviously he should retain also. And I agree with you with the fact that they have time with Bobby Roode. It's not going to hurt his credibility or his gimmick or anything else. It's, it's just going to make it that much more interesting for him, even if he comes really, really close to winning this particular match. Like, let's say if he goes and he hits his glorious DDT on Dolph Ziggler, and then Corbin comes out and just kind of throws him out of the ring, takes the pin. Snaky heel fashion for a big guy to do that. Didn't have to. And he still retains his title. And Bobby Roode is just there in the middle of the ring holding the back of his head like, oh, you bastard, you got away this time. It's just going to make people want to get behind him even more. Like, oh, man, that was a close one. Really thought that it was going to be a glorious champion and everything else. They don't have to strike with it now. This guy can easily walk into WrestleMania with no title around his waist, and it would be money. Let's put it that way.
Completely agree, 110%.
You could even maybe, if you really wanted to roll the dice, Bobby Roode is a kind of a major dark horse to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think they're going to do it, but they could do it if they really, really wanted to. But it's one of those things. There's no signs of slowing down. It seems like he's going to have a very good career in WWE. I don't know if they have to strike right now with him. I think that would be a little bit. I love the fact of him winning the Rumble, but I'd rather see Bobby Roode win like the Money in the Bank or something next year. I think that would be perfect timing.
Yeah. In terms of Bobby Roode, the way that I would write him is have him go into the Rumble running roughshod and have him like be like a serious contender. Mm-hmm. And if there was a way that I was going to write it going to WrestleMania, I would love to see James Storm come down to the ring, cause a distraction, cost him the Royal Rumble, leading into a WrestleMania match.
That's
Beer
sick.
money against each other at WrestleMania. Yeah,
that's sick. I love it.
Ed and I are available for creative prowess at any time you want to reach out to us.
Well, we have one viewer now. We have one viewer. I'm hoping it's Vinnie Mac. Hey, boss.
Good work, guys.
That's a great one. Yeah, let me write that down. Nate, let me borrow your pen. So that's that, man, did we break down that US title or what? Like just right there and different ways it can go. It's very exciting to see the different directions that they could go. And I have a question. speaking of confusion and everything else, as far as like the creative goes and stuff, the next match is it no longer called a lumberjill match? Is that too sexist now? They really want to. It's lumberjack, right? Remember, it used to be lumberjill. What happened? Did I fall asleep on that or what? Charlotte versus Natalia, lumberjack.
They should take the lumberjill completely out of it. And since this is the women's revolution, we call it the lumberjane match.
Lumberjane match. Yeah. It has a stronger vibe like Tarzan and Jane. I see where you're going with this. Boom. Can we copyright that on the show? I think we just did.
Yeah.
Lumberjane. I swear to God, if they change it, we got to almost tell that short story about the lantern for the viewers, because that was freaky. So we were not live, but we did the podcast right around WrestleMania, right when Bray Wyatt was kind of getting really over with the fans in like a heel way, of course. And he comes out with his lantern. And I swear to God, Nathan says on the podcast, he says, you know what they should do? They should come out with these little lanterns for the fans to buy and charge $7.99 or something like that, and then have everybody kind of, hold them when the lights go out. Sure enough, no less than a week later, I would say, and I think I'm pushing it when I say that. I want to say even 2 or 3 days later, hop on WWE shop, and I just took a screenshot with my cell phone. I said, Nate, you're not going to believe this. There's custom little, fan-made, whatever, not fan-made, but for the fans, like little lanterns for the Wyatt family. What's the price? $7.99. I couldn't believe it. You nailed it like to a T. So that was a little bit freaky, I have to say.
Vince, just for the record, since you're watching, we are also available for your marketing needs, not only your creative.
Love it.
We'll take a split paycheck. We're okay with that.
Hey, we're versatile, brother. We can do it all. We're like utility men for creative, for all things wrestling related. So I love it. And I also love Charlotte, and I love Charlotte winning against Natalia. Why would it go any other way? Explain this to me. You have, what are they called again? The Riot Squad? I already forgot their name. Yes, thank you. You got the Riot Squad, and then you have, Lana, Money in the Bank winner, and then you have Tamina, right? I want to say.
Yeah.
So you got them around the outside of the ring. And what the hell? What for?
That's actually a good point.
Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting opportunity to see if Carmella would cash in, but there's just too much action there. She'll never get it done. She might tease it, but like somebody's going to interfere and say like, no, you can't do it. You know what I mean? And then she's going to run away with it.
You know where I'm thinking they're going with this?
Tell me.
I think that they're going to have this lumberjane match. Charlotte's going to, in the melee, Charlotte's going to retain the whole title. And I think it's going to build to a whole brouhaha where it ends up this big whole schmoz where they're all slugging the shit out of each other. And this is going to lead to the women's Royal Rumble at the Royal Rumble in January.
Yes.
And mark my words, that is the night where Carmella will cash in on the winner.
Oh, that's nice. Well, first of all, like I'm not trying to steal your thunder. I did talk about it, I think, on Steve's podcast, maybe in SummerSlam, that they should even do a women's Royal Rumble. And you know what? If you can't get thrown over the top rope, then so be it. So be it. Just do it. You had the Money in the Bank. Why not have the Royal Rumble too?
Well, you just called up 6 women from NXT with barely anything to do. You haven't let anyone go besides Emelina. And
Mistake.
A huge mistake, and they'll regret it down the road. But
agreed.
Whatever. You brought up these 6 ladies, 3 on their respective brands. You haven't really emptied out any of the other part of the locker room. You still got your seasoned veterans there, like Alicia Fox, whatever the case may be. But you're building up this whole 4 horsewoman thing. you know what? I got to figure if that 4 horsewoman versus the MMA ladies that are coming in with Ronda Rousey and stuff like that, if that match is to take place at WrestleMania, I think at some point we're going to look at getting that title off Charlotte. So it's going to be coming a little bit sooner than everyone thinks. Going in there with the other 3 girls or whatever the case may be against the MMA crew with the title. I mean, you want the title on the line at WrestleMania.
Yes, it's especially important, especially if they want to go in the direction of having a women's title match eventually main eventing WrestleMania, which I'll be honest, and I'm not sexist, you know me. I'm not. I just wasn't feeling it like a couple years ago. But now I am. I think that I'm allowed to change my mind on it. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea back in 2015, I think, or 14, maybe. But they earned their spot, and it's getting there. So if you want to go that route, 100%, you have to have the title on the line. And what are they going to do, and who's going to carry it? Well, that remains to be seen. I do agree with you that Charlotte needs to retain this. Natalya did a great job. She, I couldn't believe they gave it to her in the first place. It was nice of them almost to do that, just to, give her that extra, time with the title. Hey, you paid your dues, you've done great, and all the extra work that you've been doing on the side, Total Divas and all this other stuff. Like she's a champ. She's a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, right? Veteran in the locker room, everything. I just don't think that it's the right time to put it back on her. Charlotte's doing an amazing job. She's so good. Like, this is such a better face run than her first time. It's not even funny. And the first time she had her pops there, right? And the second time she doesn't. And that just goes to show you how much she's elevated as a singles, women's wrestler. She's top of the top right now. Other argument would be maybe Asuka. Fine, I get it, but they're different.
Look at the short list. Yeah, but if you look at the short list of the talent over the last 3 to 5 years of the people who have been honing their craft and actually like getting better, get like in the top 3. Like, she has consistently, since she came up from NXT, has constantly been getting better and better and better. And with that first year that she came up from NXT, she was working like 270 days a year, 280 days a year. She took bookings everywhere. Small town, big town, TV, gymnasium, bingo hall. She was doing it all. And for her body to hold up as long as it did shows that, she had the longevity for the business. It shows that she had the heart to be in the business. And she's really stepped her game up over the last 2 years. Like, you could say that, yes, she doesn't have 10 years in the game, but with all that she's done in the last like 2 years alone, it's actually been like 5 or 6. Like, she's up there in a veteran now.
Oh, fuck, hell yeah. Like, she's my favorite. She was the one that really made me get interested a lot more in women's wrestling. I was trying to pick one of who I really liked, and I was like, and it took me a while, and then finally I started to get on her. And as you know, I got on her train rather early. At first, when she was with Flair and she was face and over and all that, I was skeptical. I was a little bit skeptical. I felt like she was riding his coattails a bit, but I understand why they did it now. But at the time, it's hard for me to, even if you're, son or daughter or what have you, it's hard for me to take you serious if you're just doing the same stuff as your old man. And that's just my take on it, right? But I said, I'm going to give her a chance, see how it goes. And then when she turned her heel, and then I saw the work she did and the mic work and her in-ring ability. The only time I really didn't feel like she was at her quote-unquote best, and this is not exactly only her fault, was when she had a couple of matches with Sasha Banks. And I felt like, there was a couple of spots where I felt like Banks were dropping the ball a lot and just not really helping their whole cause, like putting a little bit too much pressure on themselves instead of taking a step back and slowing it down a little bit, And that's where I think that it could have went a little bit different as far as her opponents and stuff like that. But you had to go with Banks at the time because she was the hot ticket. Now you have Charlotte, and dare I say it, you mentioned the fact of Carmella actually cashing in at the Royal Rumble, which is a great moment, especially to add to the element of the Royal Rumble. It's like, wow, remember that first one, and then to cash in. So all that work for the Royal Rumble, and that person, like, you know, I don't know which way they can go with that. Maybe even put the title on the line like they did that one year with Roman Reigns. It's an interesting thought. Now, mark my words that the only person to, well, not the only person, but the first person to defeat Asuka will be Charlotte, and it has to be her at some point. That's just my take. It has to be her that beats Asuka. You're not okay with it?
No, it should be Alundra Blaze.
Well, yeah, but you know, I don't have her phone number, so I can't like get her back into business. You know, I don't have it anymore. I lost it.
It's just a major letdown. But going back to that cash in, you know what? It works on either one. She could cash in at the Rumble, depending how they set it up. At WrestleMania, that's something that we never thought of either.
The cash in at WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm all for it. Especially how they, you know, I felt like they kind of screwed the pooch on the first time with James Ellsworth grabbing the briefcase and giving it to Carmella. I didn't like it, especially after all the brouhaha you made about the whole, like, you know, women's evolution and everything like that. Like, why would you go that angle? And I didn't like it. So, you know, a lot of people thought, okay, well, that was probably that was staged that way. They wanted to make you tune into SmackDown. Not sure. I really felt like they kind of screwed up. I did feel like it was a shoot. That whole thing was a shoot, and then they went backstage and they're like, "Oh fuck, maybe we shouldn't have done that because we got some negative." And right away, you know, and you know it because, you know, I'm sitting there with my fiance, and that was the first thing that she said, and she was like, "You got to be kidding me! After all this, and then the guy takes it down. What's that?" And I'm like, "I know. I don't know what's going to happen." So I think that they really need to. And there's nothing cooler than a WrestleMania cash in, right? I mean, we only seen it once with Seth Rollins, but at the end of the day, that's the stage you want to do it at, man. That would be amazing. 80, 70, 90, 100,000 people, whatever way they go this year. And you do it that way, that there's no better feeling, especially for the talent in the ring that actually does that. They're never going to forget that. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to cash it in at Arena, and it's awesome. But it's probably another animal to actually cash it in at WrestleMania. Now that's like all time, right? So absolutely. We'll see how that one plays out. It should be interesting. I want to see, you know, they've done a great job with the Riot Squad, in my opinion, as far as putting the promos together and everything else, the video packaging, like they look like a threat. It's just like, you know, we were talking about that before we went on the air. It's really weird how they just, like you said, brought up 6 people and they put them both in a group of 3 on each respective brands. And it's like, you got to ask yourself, well, what's going on here? Why did they do it at the same time? You could have almost maybe had one of the ladies on SmackDown or Raw be a singles wrestler, like Paige. You know, she didn't have to be like the leader of this thing. She didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay, but you have 3 and 3, and it looks like, which show am I watching? Who's on whose team again? Wait, Ruby, who's it again? Ruby and okay, it's Paige, Ruby, and Liv Morgan. No, it's not that. It's Logan and Liv and fucking Paige. No, that's not it either. You know what I mean? Like, it's taking a little bit of time to. Well, it took me about a week for whatever reason. Oh God, just stop. You know. I just can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I don't know. That's just, I was never really a massive fan of her to begin with, but recently it just.
Here's my $1 million question, and this will solidify the podcast as one of the greatest ever that we've ever done. If it's Roman's reign, if it is actually Roman Reigns' yard, do they live together?
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of property tax that Paige is paying, because Roman's yard is huge. Like, he never really specified how many acres it was.
So they're at least neighbors then, right? Because they both call it like from the ring. Well,
maybe they should throw it into the, you know, the mixed tag match thing that they have going down, and settle it once and for all. Who gets property of the mortgage? You know. I like it. I like it a lot. It's a very good question.
You just
So
right there.
another time, you know, and we have, well, an interesting tag match indeed between Randy Orton and Shinsuke versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So we talked about it a little bit before how they inserted 2 referees. Now this just opens up everything. I'm a little bit concerned with which way it's going to go. I really hope that they don't turn Daniel Bryan heel.
What?
You want to see that?
What?
You want to see that?
What?
You want to see that?
This is the scariest part. Okay, today I was listening to Vince Russo's podcast, and something.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Out of all the crap that he said the entire podcast, he said one thing that was right, and that one character trait that Daniel Bryan has is his realism. And what better way than months of them working side by side, Shane and Bryan? He's always looked down on Daniel Bryan as, I'm your boss, just remember that. And he's done it very subtly over the last few months. So for me to see Daniel Bryan break out and turn heel so that he could go total shoot and be all like, you know what? I never asked to be the general manager. I'm a wrestler. You guys stopped me from wrestling with your concussion protocols, da-da-da-da. And he could go straight, like, from the heart, CM Punk a la 2014 with his own personal story. And I think it would make for amazing TV.
Oh, there's no question about that. I agree with you. I just don't know if it's going to be utilized in a way that you want to see. You know, you follow me? It's one of those things where, you know, it's like when they tried to turn him heel with the Wyatt family. Like, what were you thinking? And I just fear for it that it could go in that direction. It's the most interesting direction for them to go into it. Instead of going the usual route, like, well, Shane's a McMahon and a McMahon's going to be a McMahon and all that kind of stuff. But you're kind of opening the door if you do it that way. Because as much as I'd love to see that, Nate, and I'm not saying you're wrong because that is an excellent point. I love it. I love every word. I love every angle. It's an amazing storyline. If you flip the script and you have Shane McMahon be the bad guy in this one and have him, of all people, you know, screw over Daniel Bryan in some sort of way or whatever the case is, I don't know what the whole story is with Daniel Bryan as far as, like, is he going to wrestle? Did they clear them? Whatever. But what better way to have him come back and wrestle than to fight Shane McMahon as a face? The fans would go friggin' crazy. So if they're going to go in that direction, in my opinion, they should have Daniel Bryan be the baby face, because for him to make any sort of in-ring return, if that's the way they're going to go, it's got to be him as a face, if you ask me. Because if he's a heel and he decides that he's, or not that he decides, but if WWE decides, okay, we're going to bring you back for a one-off with Shane and see how everything goes and monitor it from then on, the fans are going to be totally behind him anyway. So you're throwing out the heel and face out the window. That's just my take on it. What about you?
The heel is allowed to be a face to the crowd. Like, in the end, the crowd decides what you are, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
If the crowd turns and decides to say, like, you know,
sorry,
yeah, I get it. Yep. So if the crowd decides, like, hey, we like this heel, and he wants to continue, like, because in the end, he's not really a heel. If they go that route with that storyline, he's just telling it as it is. And if people can't take it, then at the end of the day, dude, it's fucking professional wrestling. Like, it's not the end of the world. If you follow Daniel Bryan for years, back when he was doing the Bryan Danielson. Yeah, when he was doing that back in Ring of Honor and stuff like that, if you followed any of that, you would love to see this from him. And the thing was, when he came in there as like a straight up, like, shooter type wrestler. He didn't have much of a personality. I would love to see his personality side like come out.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Like, he has so much more to bring to the table. They just need to give him that opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before with the Total Divas, and like, you know, Daniel Bryan's another example of why I watch the Bellas and the Divas, is because I love to see him and what he can bring to the camera and show his true self. And you know, he does have a lot more personality than they really you know, shine him out to be, especially in the NXT days with the competitions and all those little things and whatnot. So I like the way you're going with that, man. And I do enjoy the fact that you made the reference to the CM Punk like sort of pipe bomb sort of direction, because you're right. You know, Punk, you know, he came out on top after that, right? And it was a money ticket. So you could have, you know, him against the Authority angle. It never really gets old. And it's just another, it's like a part 2 to the me against the Authority, except it's a different family member. It could be really interesting to see one way or another, especially if they are going to, you know, put the tights back on him, put the knee pads, the boots, and say, here you go. There's nothing more that I want to see other than that, really. So whichever way that this kind of pans out, I really hope that we do see Daniel Bryan in the ring sooner rather than later. And it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I don't think, obviously, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to get fired from WWE. Now, if this match was a stipulation where they were going to get fired from SmackDown, I would say they're probably maybe going to lose in the end. But the fact that it's both like a kind of all or nothing thing, it doesn't really make sense for that to happen.
Oh, they know what they're doing.
What do you think?
I just want to see what they're doing long term with it.
Well, that's it. I mean, you have 4 superstars in this thing, right? The only other than the referees, which should be the main focus of what's going to happen and who's going to turn. Like, Shinsuke and Orton are sort of irrelevant. They're just there. They're just there to fill in the gaps, right? Are you there? Oh, seems like we have a little bit of technical difficulties here, ladies and gentlemen. My SummerSlam sign behind me just fell down, and I'm in the middle of my interview here. You're back.
Wow.
What happened there?
Yep. I don't know. Computer glitch.
Gotcha. So, you know, I was saying before, I just feel like, you know, Orton and Shinsuke are just there to sort of fill in the gaps, if you will. Once.
Yeah. Why these two out of everyone? That's what I'm curious about.
Well, that's it. It just seems like they're 2 top guys. So they wanted to put 2 top guys, like 2 guys that were going to get the job done to eliminate Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn effectively. That's the only way I see those 2 in the match. I mean, who else were you really going to put, you know, with Styles putting the title on the line and everything else? Like, who else do you really have like to be into that direction? I don't know. I don't know who else they could have used, right? That would have been a credible threat.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of there's a whole locker room of talent there. I mean, they could have went in several directions if they needed to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just maybe they didn't have anything for that given time, or what have you. Plus, you know, Orton's very busy with growing out his hair, so they had to give him a match.
Well, he's married now, right? So it's all downhill from here.
I'm not going to touch
not included.
Yeah, so we'll see, right? We'll see how this one. This is for sure the most. It's going to be the most watched one, if you ask me. This is why we have this pay-per-view. We might not get all the title changes we wish, although I did kind of predict a few, and we'll do a recap after that for sure. But this is the one where it's like, this is really interesting. Shane and Daniel have done such a great job from taking over SmackDown. I've loved every second of SmackDown, especially, you know, having Shane back just changed the whole dynamic. It has brought a breath of fresh air. He's done such a fabulous job. It's going to be awesome to see what happens this Sunday. I could tell you that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Speaking of that, things awesome this Sunday. We got your boy Jinder Mahal. He's got another chance. He's heading up against AJ Styles, arguably best wrestler in the world right now, right? And what do? And this is where we can kind of get into a little bit of the Royal Rumble talk, because let's face it, what happens at this match changes a lot of the outcome, I think, in a Royal Rumble. You can go different ways. You can have Jinder Mahal win the title back, and you set up John Cena to win at the Royal Rumble, therefore having Cena versus Jinder, USA versus India at the grand stage WrestleMania, where Cena finally wins and beats Ric Flair's record, and he can walk away from wrestling forever. And WWE kind of owes that to him, if you will. Not owes it to him, but he deserves it. You know, he deserves to have a guy in his career, in his stature, and everything that he's done. It makes sense. And I'm not the biggest Cena fan, you know that. But I would be okay with that because it's kind of the quote-unquote right thing to do. Or you have Styles win. You have Styles carry the title in, and then you have Shinsuke win the Rumble. Then you have a friggin' epic main event for WrestleMania. That is the hot ticket right now, and people are chanting it in house shows, and whenever they're like one-on-one. And you saw the reaction at well, I mean, it was more Finn Balor and Shinsuke went at it, but anyhow, you get my point. Where Shinsuke is very, very hot right now too, still, especially when he's in the ring with the right people, and that's the people that we want to see. But I don't know if they're going to go that way, man. I think Shinsuke could be definitely utilized in a way on WrestleMania for a strong mid-card match. Doesn't even have to be a title on the line. It's just like a one-on-one thing, kind of similar to what he did in NXT last WrestleMania weekend. That's just my take. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're planning for Shinsuke AJ at WrestleMania.
Yeah?
I think they're going to give it to us real quick, real fast, and I don't see Shinsuke winning the Royal Rumble, but I see him playing a major factor in it. And they're going to also need a main event for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And I think that sets up nicely. I've had the pleasure of actually seeing the Wrestle Kingdom match from a few years back before AJ came over to WWE. And they fucking tore the Tokyo Dome down. It was an unbelievable match. If it's anywhere, like if it's 70% of the match that it was in the Tokyo Dome, we are in for one hell of an epic event. Let me just put it right out there right now.
Very nice. Although I do think that it could happen, and it's one of those things. Like, is WWE really, really, really going to go in that direction? Fantasy matchups, it's hard to come by. I find sometimes they don't give them on a silver platter. They don't just give us, exactly what sort of makes sense in the time. They sometimes wait a little bit too long. They go a different direction. Like, everything changes. And maybe we're completely wrong with who wins the Rumble. Like, several other people have made a statement this year that they could very well be in contention to win the Royal Rumble. The Miz is a very nice pick. The Miz is a friggin' solid pick, if you ask me, especially on a solid return, right? So they don't even touch him. They don't even do nothing with him. No return, but he comes back at the Rumble and wins. People would go crazy. And then you can even have him. I mean, he has the Miztourage. Okay, that's fine. You can have him on the road to WrestleMania, eliminate the Miztourage, make him a face, or you have him just go in as heel.
When Miz left, he sort of left with face tendencies. Like, he was over with the crowd at his last show.
Yeah.
So when he comes back, he's coming back as a face. The first thing he's doing is eliminated the Miztourage. He's getting rid of that right away. And he's going like full-fledged, like, unless they got like if they don't have that hard heater, like that crazy fucking heel, he will come back and try to play that role. But in the meantime, like, if they get that crazy, like, hard heat heel,
yeah,
he is definitely coming back as a face. There's no doubt in my mind.
I like it, and it's the right time to do it. They can easily get away with it. It'd be perfect, So that's another pick if they wanted to go that route. But
mind you, this is also the kind of company that would put him in a tag team with Zack Ryder and push them to authors of pain and have them job out every week. So you never know with this place.
You never know. And that's the scary part where, you know, you see these superstars build that crazy momentum, and Miz has been doing that for well over a couple of years now, I would say. Very strong IC title reigns and stuff. I mean, he's been such a great worker. Like, so I don't want to say underrated. It's not the right word, but just overlooked, maybe is the right term, you know? But everybody just everybody just understands the importance of him. And it's suffering. I find Raw is suffering a little bit without him. I really do feel it. You know, I feel it when he's not there now. Like it's not as good.
Oh, there's a huge void. There's a huge void.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So imagine he comes back, you know, Royal Rumble style, surprise entrant, and then wins. It's not a bad go, right? And if you want to have Jinder win this match, it's not crazy to think, you know, with him leaving the Miztourage, him leaving Raw completely, going back to SmackDown, and then winning that title from Jinder, it's not a horrible way to go about it either. Does it draw the kind of money that like maybe Roman Reigns and Lesnar would do? Hard to say. Very, very hard to say. Would it draw the same amount of money as John Cena going against Jinder Mahal? Again, hard to say. At the end of the day, if they're going to cater again to the on and off wrestling fans just to draw more people in, then it's tough with either one of these main events, because a lot of people are going to be like, who's this Jinder Mahal guy? Or even sometimes maybe people might even say, who's Roman Reigns? I know who Brock Lesnar is, but who's this Roman Reigns guy? Let's just say, just out of nowhere. I know that they had their main event a few years ago, but let's say they're really living under a rock and they don't remember who he is or something like that. It's hard to say, but John Cena, you know, household name, right? Brock Lesnar, household name. These are big things, big names. And for us to
garbage, and it stinks when it gets old too.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, let's face it, brother. Let's face it. It is absolute ludicrous to think that if Roman Reigns wins this Royal Rumble coming up in Philly again, he just had a documentary about him on the WWE network, and it was awesome. I loved it. I'm a Roman fan. I'll say it. I don't care. I think he draws. I think he is what the company needs with Cena going out the door. They need a guy like that. Are they doing it the right way? No, but you still want to see what the hell he's doing. I can guarantee, like for me at least, when he's on TV, I want to see what's going on. I want to see what's up. Good or bad, I want to see what's happening. You know, that's just my take on it. But for him to win the Rumble, it's just like, oh my God. Like, how bad is that going to be? You thought he was booed bad the first time. Oh God. It's going to be crazy. And people are saying, well, John Cena wins, they're not going to boo him. Well, they might do that too. Do they not know where they're wrestling?
Oh, I see that. If either of those two win the Royal Rumble, that place is going to erupt in the same old shit chants. I'm telling you right now.
I agree. And you're the only one to say that other than me. You know, it's nice to have an idea that John Cena wins the Rumble and it's good and all this other stuff, right? I get it. It's cool. I don't know if they need to go that route this time. They can have John Cena win Elimination Chamber or something like that. I think if they still have it. I'm sure they do. They had it last year. But have him win something like that instead. I don't know if you need to give the Royal Rumble. You should give the Royal Rumble victory. It's a really hard one. It's a tough one, man. I just feel like they're going to go with one of those two guys, and then all these other speculations that we come up with.
The one that should get it, to be perfectly honest, like the two that come to my mind right away that could probably benefit the most from the Rumble, and I think it would be fucking awesome, is Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe.
Big time.
One of those two.
Big time. Big time. And I was hoping you would say Samoa Joe, because I wanted to talk to him about him too, because he's very underutilized at this moment, and he's still a threat. Boy, is he good on the mic. I love his intensity, his words that he uses. Everything about him just screams like, you know, and that's the thing, right? So if you have AJ Styles win this match, then you have Samoa Joe maybe winning the Rumble. But can you see two former TNA guys headlighting WrestleMania? It's beautiful on paper to us. right? I would love it. It's up there. It's up there with Shinsuke and AJ. It's up there. Maybe not on the same level, but fuck, is it close?
If you want to sell 80,000 tickets for WrestleMania, they need to give us the match that we want to see, and that's clearly Braun Strowman versus Berserker.
I love the fact that you did a Berserker reference. We used to do those all the time. Hush, hush, hush. Oh God, I'm not on video, so but I'm actually really doing the hand motion right now. I'm sure you. Yes, thank you very much.
Huss, huss, huss.
Braun Strowman versus Berserker. I love it. The Battle of the Beards. That's friggin' awesome. But so you have, so you're saying you have Strowman with it.
I'm not a booker, but go figure.
Go figure. You have Braun Strowman win. You can even have him as a face go over on SmackDown, you know, and take out Jinder Mahal. And the crowd would pop huge at WrestleMania if that was to happen, right?
Here's the thing. If you were going to take the title off Jinder and you don't want him to be your world champion for the time being, but you still want to grow him, why would you not take the Indian guy, the heel, the one that everyone hates, and not put the U.S. title on him when 90% of your shows are in the U.S.? That's what I don't understand.
Well, that's the, you know, I was talking to Steve about that. I'm like, you know, when eventually, if they decide to go this way with Jinder Mahal, where he's not involved in the title picture, the main event title picture, the WWE Championship title picture, where do you go from here with him? His credibility is it's gonna choke. But if you do it that way, where you just said with the U.S. title, that just gives him an extra year of work. If you ask me, a year, at least 6 months, right? You can have a build up for it, a couple of months. He wins it, and he has a massive reign with that. I wouldn't mind it also. It makes sense. But then it's going to be, you know, those people that don't like Jinder saying, oh, here he goes again with this, and how's he going to win? But at that point, maybe you don't need the Singh brothers.
Okay.
And where the hell are they going with this Singh brothers? What is the deal with this? It almost seemed like they were trying to do a swerve, right? Where like, okay, they're on AJ's side, right? And then all of a sudden, now Tuesday Night SmackDown confused the hell out of me now, all of a sudden. Because it's like, it's almost they expose them, and it's like, hey, you're still on his side. But what the hell? Why didn't you do that? Like, I don't know. Like, if you're going to have Jinder win this match, clearly it would have been funny to see the Singh brothers sort of interfere again. But, like, pretend to be on AJ's side and then double cross.
Yeah, but the problem is, if you do the storyline that way, you make AJ look like the dumb face. Like, understand the guy has, like, you know, 17, 18 years of experience or whatever the hell it is. He's not dumb. Like, they're not going to, oh, yeah, we want to join you. And it's like, dude, you just costed me, like, the last, like, 5 months of my fucking career. Like, why would I let you join?
Fair enough.
So I get the idea of come in the ring and talk to Uncle Al. Like, I get what they're trying to do there, but I don't know, man. It's just so much up in the air. For me, if things would flow a certain way, I would have the Singh brothers as tag champs and him as the U.S. champ or the WWE champ, and have them just drive it in the American crowd's face and just keep, you know, high heat every night. And it would be money. Like, people would pay left, right. They would almost pay the same amount of money that they paid Triple H in the late 90s and early 2000s to lose every night when he was world champion. And people were forking over tons of money, and Triple H was just coming out victory after victory after victory. And they were laughing to the bank.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept. I mean, and it makes sense. Business standpoint, fan standpoint, who's going to take their title standpoint, who's going to be the next person to get in line, right? So I'm having a hard time to actually predicting this particular match. I don't know which way they're going to go. I've been thinking about it for the last like few weeks. My gut tells me that Jinder is winning it back. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but
I personally want him to win it back, but I got AJ retaining. WWE,
yeah,
they've done the hot potato section of the year with their titles.
Yeah.
So I don't see them continuing it so close to the Rumble and WrestleMania.
Yeah. And AJ is
Mania is like months away, and I'm thinking like it's like in February.
Yeah, but you know how fast it comes once the Rumble hits, right? As soon as this pay-per-view is over, it's like, here we go, right? And it's gonna get intense, and this is the most exciting time to watch. You know, up until this point, a little bit of a slower sort of period, but boy, it's about to get interesting in all kinds of different ways. That's why you need to tune in. That's why you need to watch this pay-per-view. You need to see where this is gonna go. And I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I think AJ carries the title into WrestleMania because they didn't exactly – did they? No, he didn't have the title going into WrestleMania last year.
No,
did he? Which he should have, because he ran SmackDown's fucking like – or was it that was when it was one title, right? That's before they had the split. AJ was champion, wasn't he not? When he beat Cena. Am I mixing everything up here?
No, they had two belts.
They did,
I believe you're right, though. Cena was the champ at the time, and they were going sort of in different directions because they sort of cut AJ off, and he was starting to reestablish himself as the guy that, you know, this is the house that AJ Styles built, even though the name of the show is SmackDown, which is a derivative of the dialogue of The Rock.
Regardless, though, he has definitely been the one to watch on SmackDown, right? Like he was the perfect pick to have run the show in a way, as far as like, you know, fan favorite wrestling is concerned, what have you. They turned him at the right time, and he's been solid ever since as a face.
So what, if he goes back to Raw, is he still the face that runs the place?
I don't know.
Because he's got two different titles. On Raw, he was the face that runs the place, and on SmackDown, it's the house that AJ Styles built. Even though it was already there since the year 2000, which was before like he started actually wrestling. But I'm not getting into it.
So talking about the house that AJ Styles built, does that mean he built Paige's house? And is this house on Roman's yard? Now that's how you transition. And that's called a callback in comedy.
That will get you an extra 2 minutes on the mic, for sure.
Absolutely. So, I mean, let's I guess we're going to both go with AJ Styles retaining, right?
Yeah, I got AJ retaining in this case.
And it's going to be really interesting to see where they want to go. And I love the way you said that. You want to sell out 80,000 people. You want to make WWE, because they have some big competition now, especially with the Omega Y2J thing happening. They need to flip the world upside down again. They need to start to get on that level where it's like, hey, we don't want to just give you the tried and tested sort of guys. We don't want to give you Randy Orton winning the Rumble. We don't want to give you maybe John Cena winning the Rumble. We don't want to give you Roman Reigns. Like, maybe they want to go a different direction as far as actually putting, like, taking a risk. And if there's at any time that you want to take a risk to actually put all this together, give Strowman that push, give AJ and Shinsuke the main stage. So you have Strowman on one side with Raw, maybe even going against Lesnar and beating Lesnar. Like, these are the things that will make you sell out, number one, because all the marks, the smarks and whatever, they're going to be like, well, I like what's going on over there. Don't get me wrong, but I also like what WWE has recently done. They're finally opening their eyes, and they're going to do something, and this should be really all time. I feel like they really need to do that in this given. They can't just do the tried and tested, oh, well, you're still going to tune into our stuff regardless, because I don't know what's going to happen with this Omega Y2J thing, but it's a big deal. And actually, one of our commenters here, God is Good, actually wanted us to talk a little bit about it. So, you know, and we've had some comments down below that I've been completely ignoring. Sorry, guys. God is Good has been in. Jeremiah Noble, thanks for tuning in. Who's the other one? Star Wars Underground asked, who is Omega? And God is Good just went right after him saying, are you from another planet? Kenny fucking Omega, the cleaner. So I think that it's all relevant and we can talk about Omega and Y2J in a bigger context for the next show or whatever, but it's relevant to like the direction they need to go in this particular case. There's no better way to take a risk than to do it right now. And that's the way I think they should go. Will they do it? Time will tell. What do you think?
I don't think they do because they're the big dog in the yard. And until somebody throws them off, they're not going to be intimidated. And I'm glad that you mentioned New Japan. I'm actually shocked because you're like a hard WWE guy, and it does have WWE implications. You know what? By listening to a lot of podcasts and looking at a lot of stuff online, it's great that Y2J got the blessing from WWE in a way to go and do it with his contract coming up and stuff like that. He has no immediate plans to go back to WWE. The whole thing actually started as a joke that sort of backfired to the guy that played the joke. He actually was what's his face, the new vice president of Impact Wrestling there, Don Callis.
Yes.
He actually walked up to Y2J and said, "Hey, what about you and Omega at Wrestle Kingdom?" Ha 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 ha. And then Jericho was just like, well, "What about it? Is this a possibility?" Was actually like a joke, actually got them connected with the guy who runs New Japan is Y2J's like former tag team partner from way back in the day when Jericho started in the 90s.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. So there's a lineage there. Like it's not just like it's like, we're old tag team buddies from back in the day when I was in Japan. Do you think that this is possible? Can we do this? Da 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 da. What's remarkable about that, and I don't want to get sidetracked with the New Japan stuff. I want us to finish our WWE stuff. What's remarkable about that is that they were able to keep it very low key, very low brow, off of the social media until all the surprise stuff happened. That these two have shocked the world is going to make Wrestle Kingdom that much better. And yeah, if you ever want to do an episode, particularly about New Japan or whatever, we can do that down the road. But don't we have one more match to finish off the card?
Did I miss one?
Did we do the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens?
Yeah, we were talking about Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. Oh, who wins?
Well, we got caught up talking about the referees because we don't care about what happens in the ring.
Yes. So, I mean, I think we're on the same page where something happens, somebody turns, like one of the referees turns, and, you know, who knows which one it's going to be ultimately, but in some sort of way where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn wins. And don't forget, Daniel Bryan was the one to do the 3 count this Tuesday night on SmackDown for Kevin Owens to pick up that victory over Shinsuke, right? What does that mean?
The fact that he did 3 count without Shane Helms is absolutely wrong.
Excellent. Well, here's the thing, right? This is the match that you should finish the pay-per-view on. Am I right?
I think it's big enough for Shane's ego for them to actually be the one that's closing down the show. Whatever's going on in that situation, they're going to close out the show with that shock value at the end. We don't know which way it's going to go, but I could see the fade out being that over AJ retaining the title. I don't know about you.
I totally agree. And it's not a shot at AJ saying he's not doing a great job or any of that stuff. And normally, you know how big I am. I'm old school when it comes to, you know, closing out the show with your respective title. I'm a massive fan of that, and I don't even think that always has to show a place. World heavyweight titles, doesn't matter on what show, WrestleMania, whatever, you never open it up with that. It drove me nuts back in the, you know, not too long ago, 4 years ago, tops, maybe 3, whatever, that they were starting off WrestleMania with, you know, the SmackDown World Heavyweight Championship. I hated it. I was like, you don't have to do that. And then they got it right more or less this past year, except for, well, obviously, but you got to give Taker his due, and I understand that. But then you had the 2 titles before that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. No, you had the women's match and before Taker, but you see where I'm coming. You can put it later on in the card.
Oh, absolutely. Right? You put it on later on in the card. And unless you got like that epic match that's no title on the line,
yeah,
you got to give some prestige and respect to the title. I completely agree with you there. Because if you go back to like situational wise, if you look at WrestleMania 18, there's no way that Jericho and Triple H should have went on last after Rock and Hogan. Like, that was not going to follow it up.
No. And not to say that this match is going to actually do it. I get what you're saying. It's more like this is the part which is going to make you tune in to SmackDown going forward up until Royal Rumble. Because you got to do something that's going to, especially if you're not going to have a title change, you have to have something that's going to make you want to tune in Tuesday night. And there's no better way than to end it with some sort of double cross, heel turn, not unlike what we just saw with, Sami Zayn. And I know that was a main event match. I get it. But they need to do this for the direction of SmackDown. It's not a shot at AJ or, Jinder and AJ. I know they're going to get it done, and it's going to be a great match. I hope. I mean, I
actually get what you're saying, especially coming off Survivor Series where they ended up being on the outside looking in with the results from there. Like, this pay-per-view really needs to give them a little bit of that nip in the ass for them going forward, going into the Rumble. They need momentum going into the Rumble because they lost it coming off Survivor Series. Yes. And you know what? They really need to set the tone going into the Rumble. And whatever this is, it needs to shake the shit, like, big time, so that they got great momentum going into the Royal Rumble, because you could see that they got their chips heavily pushed in on the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania this year.
Yes, and they need to do that. And I agree with you with the fact that, it seemed like they suffered a little bit since Survivor Series. I myself can attest to that too, where I haven't been quite as invested, and it's just because they lost the Survivor Series. They just lost it. They lost. It doesn't matter the stupid point system. At the end of the day, when it comes to Survivor Series, people look at certain things, and the 5-on-5 elimination matches are a huge draw. Always has been, always will be, in my opinion, right? So the fact, and the only reason why they put the point system in is because they knew they were going to lose both big matches, the women's and the men's. They lost both of them. So what the hell? Where do you go from here? And how they did that is a different story, with Triple H being the center stage. It's, again, not sure if you needed to go that way. I think, Triple H could have, took a side page out of his own book like he did a few years ago at Sting, where that still drew a shitload of money for WrestleMania, if you ask me. And it wasn't, didn't close out shows, and it wasn't the main event and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, it made it just as good. Just as good. Sometimes less is more.
The thing that pissed me off the most about that whole Triple H thing at Survivor Series is that they gave it like a minute and a half of attention on Raw the following night, and since then it's been a dead issue.
Exactly.
Kurt's still Kurt. Triple H is nowhere to be found except India beating Jinder Mahal in a match that probably shouldn't have taken place out there. But it's just like you did the double cross at the end for your team to win, but you never had like a face-to-face, like that never came to fruition, for lack of a better word.
No, it didn't.
It was just like, well, what the hell was the point of that? Those situations are supposed to create that dramatic climax that make us want to watch Raw the next day. And it's like, as soon as we turned into Raw, they were just like, oh, we got the rating. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. And that's where, you need to be very careful. And you can't do that in this particular case, especially with Clash of Champions. It's a decent card. It's got some potential. It's got a lot more potential than maybe people will think. I'll have my camera ready. You know, I'll be watching. I'll be doing some reaction videos to whatever is going down, and I'm looking forward to it. And I definitely think when that 11 o'clock hour hits, I I do believe that not only do they need to come up with something that's going to really change the direction of SmackDown going forward, however they do it, but you need to obviously follow up on it. And to be honest with you, Nate, I don't see SmackDown making that same mistake that Raw did. I see them having this payoff, and exactly what it is. It's going to be a nice payoff. There's going to be a payoff to be done afterwards with SmackDown, the direction, the talent, whatever, and it's going to go in that right direction going into Royal Rumble. I mean, it's got to happen.
But
I don't see it going any other way. I hope, at least.
a lot is riding on Clash of the Champions when you think about it, though, because
It's huge.
tomorrow night is Ring of Honor's final battle from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. Like, that's their show of the year.
Yeah.
And you know what? They pushed all their cards in for this December show, and they're doing it the Friday prior to Clash of the Champions. And for those that have an opportunity to tune in and watch that Ring of Honor pay-per-view, you know what? That's going to be the measuring stick when they look over at WWE and go, holy shit, Cody versus Dalton Castle was a hell of a match. Marty Scurll versus what's his face? Anyways, their card is stacked. Like, they're gonna put on a hell of a wrestling show Friday night, and it's like, it's not that they're in competition with each other. It's just people are starting to look indies. They're starting to look at the lowercase cards and stuff like that. And you know what? Right now, to be a promoter in wrestling, it's not easy, but there's gateways for people to spend their money. Like,
Yeah.
look at IWS. Like, in January, they're getting peak done.
Yeah. That's huge.
That's absolutely huge. That's like a WWE talent with a title that's coming into like a small venue to
In
put it on the
Montreal.
fucking map. But mind you, it was put on the map. There's a collab there clearly with WWE and IWS. There's no doubt in my mind. They talk about it over and over again on the Kevin Owens DVD, which is DVD to buy for the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I like the way you said that as a measuring stick. It's like, it's almost in a way, like you said, not, it's hard to say not competition. I could see there being a little bit. I could see there being a little bit, but it's just another way to elevate their stature, their game, and everything else. Not much different than, I know it's within the company, but it's like when NXT has their pay-per-view the night before, right? That just steps up everything. And this is just like a different example of it. And the only difference is it's a different company, right? So
Well, look at that Survivor Series weekend. Everyone, here we are a month out, whatever it is, from Survivor Series, and everyone's still talking about that Aleister Black Velveteen Dream match out of the entire weekend.
Yeah, the whole weekend. I mean, that was the best match of the whole weekend.
And people are still talking about it. So to say that there's like a measuring stick, especially with a show that's like the night before or 2 nights before of, the reality is that that's going to become the measuring stick. If they come out and they put on 6 and you're going to get 4 like amazing matches, that's like, hey, you know what? I want to see the next pay-per-view for Ring of Honor being some shit, especially with the fact that Wrestle Kingdom comes in January. And you know what? That's also going to set the tone in terms of professional wrestling outside of the WWE spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way you said it. I like to do a little thing sometimes before pay-per-views, kind of give it my own spin as far as what I think it's going to be like.
A spin-a-rooney?
A spin-a-rooney. Can we get one for the camera? Or oh no, you're not equipped to do that. You're not wearing the right tights. But if you want, give on a scale of 1 to 10, or as I like to call it, the Mountie meter. On the scale of 1 to 10, how do you think Clash of Champions is going to be? And then we could review it after and see what you think. That's the fun part.
On a scale of 1 to 10, somewhere between a 6 and 7.
Ooh, you're going low ball, aren't you?
There's just nothing there that's really like I gotta see this. It's almost like I want to see like the 18-minute YouTube clip of the abbreviated version of Clash of the Champions. Mind you, I will watch the full 3 hours. I'm probably gonna watch the pre-show. Like, basically, I'm a whore for wrestling, right? Like, they already got my money, so.
That's true.
But the problem is that if I put my here's the problem with WWE in the recent weeks. If I put my expectations low and they end up shooting up an 8 or a 9, bravo.
Yeah, I agree.
But if I put it at a 9 and they give me a 6, then I'm just going to be another one of those internet wrestling community fucking marks that goes out, oh, this was shit and he missed this and you fucked up and da-da-da-da. And frankly, I want our bar, whether it's on your show or me doing my own show or whatever the case may be, I want us to be different from what everyone else does.
Yeah.
That's why people will watch us. Because then we'll just be lost in the mix of, oh, they're just another bunch of smarks that, you know, they bitch about what's right and what's wrong and blah, blah, blah. Us, we go in depth. We talk about the talent. We talk about, you know, the business side of it. Where's the longevity? Is there money in this match? How long do you see it going? Like, this last hour has been super enjoyable from my perspective.
I agree. And there's sometimes you have to go in depth when it comes to this stuff. It's not just a hit or miss with who wins and who doesn't. Okay, next match. I don't like to do that. I like to talk about why it's going to happen. Where could they go from it? Who's going to benefit? How do you win? How do you take away from the guy that loses? What happens with that guy going forward? Is it a good moment to make that guy lose? Do you make him lose clean? Like, there's so much out there to discuss. And it really is a business. The whole thing is a business. And you have to be very careful with how you handle a lot of this talent, because some of them just don't bounce back. They just don't. And they got to be careful with that. So I don't know, man. I'm going to say it's a 7.5 on my take, only because I feel like it's going to end strong. It may not start strong, but I feel like the last 2 matches are going to end strong. At least I think so. Especially the last match with the referees. I feel like it's going to make a very big impact to the point where we're like, okay, whatever happened before that, not to say it's going to be a bad show, but whatever happened before that, you may or may not be bothered by it. You know what I mean? So I'm predicting new tag team champions. I'm going way out there with, Shelton and Chad. I think it's something randomly that's going to happen.
How far is way out there?
It's pretty far. I'm totally wrong. I am fucking so wrong. But hey,
what you just did there was cover your ass after the pay-per-view. So if they win, they're like, oh, I told you. And if they lose, you're just like, oh, I told you I was wrong.
You just have to point that out, huh?
Well played.
Thank you for pointing it out. But I do predict that Charlotte retains, Corbin retains. We're pretty much on the same page. Mojo wins over Ryder. Bludgeon motherfuckers win. And, that's, we'll see. Well, anyways, Randy, Shinsuke lose with the help of the referees. AJ goes over. It's one way or another. He still, recaptures his gold. And they go strong with him into WrestleMania for once, as they should, because he's another one of those guys that, we talked about the Uso. It's been their year. Well, it's AJ Styles has had another banner year, and he just keeps getting better and better. And why not give him that stage at WrestleMania? So I like the way we booked this. One way or another, it looks solid. So that being said, It's been an honor, man, to have the Nate Dawg on the Mounties Corner. Nate, for whoever is still kicking around, why don't you give your credentials? Maybe they can give you a follow. Maybe they could, subscribe to your YouTube channel. Tell them what you're about. Go for it.
All right. Where do I start? Like I said at the beginning of the show, 5-minute promos on YouTube. I got some old stuff on there. I'm looking to start some new stuff. Ed sort of motivated me again I have a good idea going. He gave me a little bit of direction of where I want to continue it. If there's any of the content you don't like, by all means, leave comments. I go and I check it out regularly. I plan on adding a little bit more content as the days go on. My personal Twitter at NateDawg316. That's NateDawg DAWG 316. You can reach me there. I'm also NateDawg316 on Instagram. Feel free to give me a like, give me a follow. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of myself. I'm a fan of these shows. Mountie, as much as we're close friends, I want to thank you for the honor and the privilege for us to do this together again. It's been far too long in between shows. I look forward to doing many more. Hopefully I get to make my way over to Mountie Studios and we do our own little bit, like side by side instead of opposite sides of the camera. Yeah. But nonetheless, the whole thing's been a great ride. I'm never subjected to any kind of boredom when we do this. I always get hype and I stay hype.
You just gave a fucking plug to the pre-show while plugging yourself. That was well done. You ended it on the pre-show. What better way to segment into Clash of Champions? Very well done, sir. So anybody still kicking around or checking this out, you guys know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that sub button. Hit the bell, man. Nate, thank you for being here, my man. Always a pleasure. And I am the Mountie, and I always get my views. Enjoy Clash of Champions, guy. Rip 'em.
Take care, guys.
Success in life comes when you simply refuse to give up. On a mission so strong that obstacles like failure and loss only act as motivation. I mean, no one has the power to shatter your dreams unless something's telling me to stop. I never do that in the name of love until I've given it my all and it just ain't enough. See, even if it's getting realer than they say it was, straighten up. Who's afraid of what? Play and get involved. No, you work hard till you're better off. 24/7, 365, never off. Look at me, I'm nocturnal, I don't sleep. My eyes heavy.